Hello there, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're tackling contour drawing with organic objects. When you're looking at forms found in nature like fruits or vegetables, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the subtle curves and complex details. But the secret to keeping everything proportional is to start simple and build your way up. These are two studies I did at the Art Academy. On the first page, I worked on capturing a single bell pepper, focusing on finding its central axis and building out its primary form before touching any fine details. On the second page, I grouped two subjects together, a pumpkin and a smaller bell pepper, to practice holding overall proportions using straight lines and a single boundary structure. Now let's recreate this process step by step using a new setup, starting with a single bell pepper. When you begin, resist the urge to draw smooth, finished curves right away. First, establish your axis line. The central line is super important because it defines the overall direction, tilt, and gesture of the object, keeping your structure balanced from the very start. From there, always start with a rough sketch composed of straight, simple lines and work strictly from big to specific. Establish the primary silhouette first before going into any secondary details or inner contours. Avoid making the lines too dark at this stage so you can adjust as you refine.
And here we have the very rough sketch, the blueprint of the pepper. And now we can focus on specific details. For example, here in this area, I can see in the picture that I took that the shape is something like this, right? So now that I am done doing the outer sketch or just the blueprint, I can focus on the specific details. So I'm going to erase this. We can use a kneaded eraser for that, or just a normal eraser. In this process, you're supposed to use very soft lines. I used more pressure so you could see the drawing way better, because a soft line is not very easy to perceive on camera. I think that looks more like the picture than the one we have. The one I had before was something like this. So yeah, that looks much better. And here we have the first example. As you can see, it looks more like the picture I took, and I just used the kneaded eraser to remove some of the graphite, and then with the mechanical pencil I tried to round the edges so we don't see just the straight lines but more organic lines like the ones we find in organic objects like the pepper.
For the second drawing, we are laying out a bell pepper resting horizontally next to a pear. Using the same structural approach, when dealing with multiple objects you want to use what's called an envelope. An envelope is a big geometric boundary composed of straight lines that wraps around all your objects as if they were a single shape. By drawing this outer envelope first, you lock in the overall scale and relationships before getting bogged down in individual shapes. Once the envelope and horizontal reference lines are down, you break the large shape into smaller primary forms. Check your alignments and only then start rounding off the contours and adding specific details. Remember, avoid drawing in symbols. Trust what you actually see and let the straight lines guide your organic forms. When I say avoid drawing symbols, I mean stop drawing what your brain thinks an object looks like and start drawing what you actually see. Our minds naturally want to default to simplified icon versions of things, like drawing a generic heart-shaped leaf, but organic objects are full of unique, asymmetrical quirks. By sticking to straight structural lines, checking your angles, and mapping out the actual negative space, you force yourself to observe reality rather than relying on mental shortcuts.
And this is the final result. It looks really good, to be honest. I'm not flattering myself, but yeah, I mean, you can clearly see or distinguish that this is a pepper. I tried to capture as much detail as possible, and you can go as detailed as you want. Now, this is not about capturing light or shadows, just about capturing the outer and some inner details of organic objects. This was going to be the end of the video, but I will show you one final example. I'll show you how I drew these two peppers. It was a bit more complex. We start the same way as the previous one, just by drawing the axis line. As you can see, the pepper on the right is not perfectly vertical. It's got an inclination, something like this. That we have the axis lines, we can draw the envelope or box, however you want to call it. I'm going to start drawing the left side pepper and start making those straight lines. It doesn't have to look perfect because we're going to refine them later. And here we have the final sketch for the two peppers. We can keep refining some details. You can go as detailed as you want, but to begin with, don't focus too much on every single specific detail. Just try to capture as much as you can without feeling too overwhelmed by it, because then you're going to start thinking that you're not good enough at art or drawing, whatever. You just have to start somewhere. So just to start practicing. This is just like practice for me. I'm just showing you guys what I have learned. It's not like I'm an expert yet. So yeah, don't be too harsh on yourself if it doesn't turn out too good. Just keep practicing and keep going.
Here are the final drawings. As you can see, starting with a loose envelope and rough straight lines didn't make the end result look like an organic symbol. It gave the organic shapes a solid, accurate foundation. Once those core proportions were locked in, transitioning into fluid contour lines and subtle details felt effortless. Give this technique a try on your next still life. Take your time with the setup stage and let me know how it goes in the comments. Don't forget to like if you found this video useful and subscribe if you want to follow along in my art journey. Keep creating.